What if I told you one of the most one of the most instinctive defensive backs in the Big Ten barely got to show himself in 2025? Xavier Scott already has all Big Ten production, 4 interceptions, slot versatility, and real ball skills. But after a season-ending injury, foot injury, 2026 becomes the year that decides whether he's a real NFL nickel or just a player the league remembers or somebody they used to know. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda. We're data-driven and prospect-focused. Today we're breaking down Illinois' cornerback Xavier Scott. Scott comes in as a 9.01 out of 10, making him my prospect number 41, and cornerback number 7 in the 2027 NFL draft class. This is one of the more interesting corner evaluations on the board because 2025 season doesn't really give us a lot of answers. He only played 3 games, suffered a foot injury against Western Michigan, and the injury required season-ending surgery. But Xavier comes out of Dwyer High School, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Like a lot of defensive backs, I like multiple sport athlete. For me, that matters. Cornerback is not just about straight line speed. It's about body control, reaction time, spatial awareness, short area quickness, and competitiveness. It's not just the ability to fly. Multi-sport athletes often bring a kind of natural movement and competitiveness with them to playing defense. He played 11 games as a true freshman in 2022. Tells you a lot right away. Young defensive backs do not get on the field by accident. Coaches have to trust them. They have to believe you can handle the speed of the game. They have to believe that you survive mistakes. And Scott got early exposure. And it became the foundation of what came next. 2023 was a real breakout for him as a sophomore. 11 pass breakups is a huge number, especially in the Big Ten. Pass breakups are important because they tell you a defensive back is consistently arriving at the football. Maybe the interceptions are not always there yet. Maybe the finish at the catch point is still developing, but 11 pass breakups as a sophomore is disrupting passing games. You're finding the football, you're reading routes, you're driving on throws, and you're forcing quarterbacks to think twice. That's a good step in the right direction. 2024 took another step forward, added 4 interceptions. One of those was a pick 6 against Kansas, I believe. Earned first team All Big Ten honors. He was a Jim Thorpe semifinalist. Big Ten, led all Big Ten cornerbacks in snaps, and that matters because he wasn't just a limited package player. He's not a part-time nickel who played, certain situations. He was always on the field. He lined up outside. He lined up in the slot. He lined up as a safety. They asked a lot from him. Illinois asked a lot from him. It was a heavy workload, but it tells you the staff trusted him and trusted his football intelligence. You don't ask somebody you don't have faith in to play all those different positions. The versatility really showed through. The issue is the injury in 2025. But we'll get to that in just a minute. 2024, 4 interceptions, showed the ball production isn't random. He reads route concepts. He understands where quarterbacks want to go. He drives on throws with anticipation, and it's the core of his game. He has more of an eyes and instincts defender than a pure mirror corner value to him. And that's valuable, especially on the inside. in the slot, you have to see the field a little differently. You're dealing with option routes, crossers, quick outs, seams, over routes, running backs releasing from the backfield, tight ends working through traffic, and quarterbacks trying to manipulate leverage. A slot defender has a lot to process, and they have to process it fast. And Scott showed he can do that in 2024. One of the moments that stood out in 2024 was the regular season finale against Northwestern. Sealed the game with a late interception. And to me, that matters because it's one thing to pile up production when the game is already decided. It's another thing to finish the game. Late round ball production tells a lot about your confidence. It tells a lot about your instincts and your competitiveness. And Scott has all that. He is not just a defender who is involved when the ball comes to him. He looks for the moment, and when he's healthy, he's a playmaker. And that's reason he's where he is on my board. 2025, Scott returned and only played 3 games. In September against Western Michigan, he broke up 2 passes, and then had an injury to his right foot and ankle area. It required surgery, and the season was done for him. And it's the biggest issue in this evaluation is the medical for him. Foot and ankle injuries matter for defensive backs. They matter for every offensive player. And corners live on their feet, planting, driving, flipping, opening hips, closing space, recovering vertically, changing direction. If your foot isn't right, the player is not going to be the same player. It's the first thing scouts are going to look for in 2026 is, does Xavier Scott look like Xavier Scott again? If the answer is yes, this grade is going to hold. If the answer is no, it is going to go into a free fall very quickly. I talked about one of the things I love about him is his instincts. Scott is not just reacting late. He reads route concepts. He understands spacing. He anticipates throws. And he drives on the football. And it's why his pass breakups and the interceptions show up. Some corners are physically gifted, but always a step late mentally. Scott is the opposite. His eyes, he plays with his eyes. He sees the picture. He trusts what he sees. And then he goes right after it and gets the football. And that's a valuable trait, especially at a slot defender. Nickel is one of the hardest jobs in college, in football, period. You have to defend two-way releases. You have to fit the run, communicate, handle motion, cover in space, blitz at times, and you have to be able to tackle. And Scott has shown that he can do that. He's also shown versatility. He's lined up outside in the slot and at safety. And for NFL rosters, that's something that's going to come into the consideration. If you're not just a pure outside corner with elite speed, versatility truly becomes your path. Can you play nickel? Can you play dime? Can you play safety in certain looks? Can you help out on special teams? Can you be a part of multiple personnel packages? Scott can check those boxes if he's healthy, and it gives him a better chance to stick on programs and with teams. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody will ever be perfect. The first thing that is very obvious, first concern, the foot surgery. That's going to dominate the projection. He only played 3 games in 2025. It's a tiny sample size. Looking back at 2024, yes, he should be this high. But can he be that player again and show that in 2026? That is the big question around Xavier Scott. If he's healthy, can he keep up to this level? And if he's not healthy, he's going to fall like a rock. Another concern is his time speed. He plays faster, but his time speed is definitely limits limits him on his vertical routes, defending against vertical routes, excuse me. If he gets stacked downfield, he does not have the elite long speed to erase the mistake. Matters more on the outside than the inside, but it's still part of the evaluation. You have to, he wins with positioning anticipation. He wins with instincts, but if he's wrong, he loses vertically, and he doesn't have the ability to recover as much as other players do. Another concern is his overall coverage. Scott has more eyes than a mirror. He's better when he can read and react than when he can lock onto a receiver and match up every movement purely in man coverage. I'm not saying he can't cover, but it's a different role in coverage. You probably don't want to ask him to live on an island against elite wide receivers. That's not going to be the best version of him. Best version is on the inside, reading route combinations, triggering downhill, driving on throws, and using his football intelligence. That's his profile. Another concern is his age and eligibility, As with much of these talented older prospects returning for a fifth season, NFL teams want that timeline to be clean. How many years of eligibility? How old was he when he entered the draft? How much development is still left there? It doesn't destroy an evaluation, but it does matter. Older prospects have to be ready now. And if you do not get drafted as an older player, you don't get drafted as an older player with mysterious upside. You get drafted because teams believe your role is clear and you can help now. You can help quickly. You can be on the field. For Scott, that's more of a nickel special teams, a nickel safety role. I don't want to say special teams. He can contribute on special teams, but it's a nickel safety role for him. If he's healthy. That's, again, if he's healthy. The entire thing with him is if he's healthy. He's cornerback 7 because of the 2024 tape. 4 interceptions, first team All Big Ten, Jim Thorpe Award semifinalist, Big Ten leading snap volume among corners, versatility across the entire secondary, a history of pass breakups and ball production. Those things matter, but the medical risk is very real. He's not a pure outside lockdown profile. He's going to be an instincts nickel. Versatile defensive back. I truly believe where he's going to fit in the NFL is as a nickel safety combination. But again, he needs 2026 to really reopen the case for him. He needs to get healthy, play fast, and show that the 2024 player is still there. That's the checklist for him. Scott doesn't need to reinvent himself. He doesn't need to become a confident. He doesn't need to become a completely different player. He needs to prove that he's confident with his foot and his ankle, and he needs to show that he can drive on throws. He can still handle the slot. He can still tackle and show the instincts and ball skills were not just a one-year flash in 2024. That ball production is going to show more, and as long as it's cleaner coverage, he's going to be just fine. Somebody's going to ask, can he climb? And I don't know. I think I have him at the top of his potential at cornerback 7. I need him to be completely healthy to be this high, truly. Otherwise, if the injury lingers or the speed looks compromised, this projection gets much harder, and he has the ability to slip. But currently, best case scenario, we're hoping for everything for the best for every player. We put everybody's health at 100, that you're good to go. As far as we know, that's what you are. But currently he's a 9.01 out of 10. My number 41 overall prospect, cornerback 7, going into this college football season. He's instinctive. He's versatile defensive back. He's got huge slot value, strong run defensive traits, and he has proven ball production. The 2024 tape is the reason he is here. Let's be real. It's the reason he's here. Foot injury wiped out most of 2025, or he probably would have went into the draft last year. Does Xavier Scott return to form? I don't know. But this is why projections are there. But that's just my board. What do you think about Xavier Scott? Is he one of the most underrated defensive backs in the Big Ten? Can he return to form after the foot injury? Where would you rank him among the cornerbacks for next year's draft class? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like these player evaluations, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to keep putting in this work. We're going to have over 100 prospects done before college football kicks off this year. That's my guarantee. I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.